Hello and welcome to the Secretariat. You're watching the Global Capsule. Sushma Trump's tariff. Now, last week, of course, he came out with this announcement that movies which are shot outside the US is going to under the 100% tariff bracket.
Yes.
Now, of course, that has gone back and forth. Nobody has any clarity. Just before that, he also announced imposition of 100% tariff on drugs on the pharma market. Now, of course, that was a little bit of a concern for the Indian drug market because India is one of the major exporters to the US, Indian pharma industry. But at the same time, now there is confusion over tariffs. The White House has come out with a kind of an announcement saying that the 100% tariff on drugs, on the pharma industry, on the pharmaceutical products is under review. Nobody has any clarity. How do you read this situation, the tariff controversy, the tariff confusion? It goes back and forth, back and forth. How do you read this situation?
Absolutely, Mawa, there is tremendous confusion. And I think, first of all, we must recognize that there is a large amount of confusion in all the tariff pronouncements, whether it is in regard to China, where they went ahead with 155%, then they brought it down, then it's 55%, then there's 10% baseline. So there's a great deal of confusion in all the tariff pronouncements. Now, coming to what you talked about, the pharma issue. Now, initially, there was this big bang announcement, 100% tariffs on all branded imports of pharma products. Now, for India, we largely export generic drugs to the United States, but we do have some exports of branded products. So the concern was that would it affect those exports, those companies that are exporting to the US? But right now, as you pointed out, they have now said it's on pause because I think the realization has struck them due to probably pressure from not just consumer interests, but also from pharmaceutical companies that this could hurt US interests. US interests in terms of pharma companies as well as in terms of consumers. The pharma companies are saying that, our own, even the American pharma companies like Pfizer are saying that our companies are located out of America and you're imposing tariffs on our products. So it's a tariff on an American company. And they also say that we have been making a sizable investment within the US and we are going to make more investments. So they're hoping that the tariffs on their products will be brought down. The second thing is over the impact on consumers, because consumers, if prices go up, it could hurt Trump's own constituency, the MAGA constituency, which at some level in some states is really not very well off.
Healthcare is basic.
Healthcare is a basic issue, and if it goes up for people who are relying on generic drugs or even the cheaper patented drugs, it could have a big impact. So yes, there is a lot of confusion, and I think that's just part and parcel of this whole tariff issue.
Saga, yeah. Because it goes back and forth.
Yes,
there's no
yes,
clarity. Of
yes.
course, there was a lot of concern, confusion for the Indian drug makers. But now again, it seems that things have been put on hold, like you said, and nobody has any clarity. Nobody knows whether it'll be imposed. What is the new deadline? There is complete confusion over this issue.
Even on movies, there's confusion because on what are you going to impose the tariff? Are you going to impose it on the ticket prices? Are you going to impose it on distribution? What are you going to do it? Because it's a digital era. I mean, the movies are just flowing in. I mean, information just flows. So, there have been 2 points of view already expressed in our Indian film industry. One, Anurag Basu, in fact, has a different point of view. He said, I think it's a great thing. It's going to be a blessing in disguise. Let us also impose reciprocal tariffs. So the ticket prices of American movies will become higher and therefore consumers will watch Indian movies. So that's a good thing for the domestic industry. The other point of view has been expressed by Kabir Khan, who's also a producer and a very well-known filmmaker. He says that I don't think this is actually going to go through because a lot of American companies, American movies, or rather most American movies are made in other countries. Plus, this whole thing of VFX, because a lot of special effects and everything are done outside the country. So, are they going to tax their own movies? So we come back to what you said earlier: confusion. Confusion on pharma, confusion in Hollywood movies. So
Absolutely.
that confusion continues.
Now, let's look at Russia. Let's look at Vladimir Putin. He's supposed to visit India on 5th of December. Now, that is a significant message because there is a lot of pressure from Trump, from the US on India to stop buying Russian oil, to curtail its economic engagements with Moscow. And on this, we see Putin is going to be visiting India on the 5th of December. Of course, before this, we've seen at the SCO summit how Putin, Xi Jinping, and Modi shared a very nice moment. I mean,
Yes.
They were laughing, they were joking. So, how do you see this situation? And also the fact that Putin has come out openly stating that the tariff imposed on India and China by the US is going to actually come back to hurt the American economy.
I think Putin's statements should be taken in the context of the fact that our relationship with Russia over the years has only deepened and strengthened. And one thing that Vladimir Putin said in this recent seminar that he has spoken at, or some forum at which he has spoken, he has said that, we supported India in its most difficult times in the past when Russia was the Soviet Union. And India has not forgotten. He said many countries do forget, but India, and the Indian people have not forgotten. And I think, Mahua, that's very true, that in India, the general consensus among people, I mean, if you go to a man on the street, they will say Russia is our friend, is a friendly country. And that's something that has endured because it has been what you might call an all-weather friend in times of crisis. So that is the backdrop for Putin. And he has, come out and said that, these kind of threats that the US and President Trump are making against both India and China, he's noted that, this is something like a colonial power would have done, and the colonial era is over.
Is over.
And as far as India is concerned, I think he's very rightly said, because the fact that by threatening India, there's no way that a country like India and a prime minister like Narendra Modi will give in to these threats. In fact, he's pointed out that India might lose due to tariffs, but they would then equally lose if they don't buy discounted oil from Russia, because then they'll have to pay more. So it's a loss for India, and what would either way, and what would be most important for them is to maintain their dignity and sovereignty. And that is, of course, very true. I don't think that any prime minister, not just Narendra Modi, I don't think any prime minister can afford to bow down to the kind of threats that are being made, both by President Trump on Truth Social, as well as his aides, his very close advisors like Peter Navarro, or the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, the kind of things they have said that, we have to fix India.
Yes.
India will going to say sorry. This is very undiplomatic language, and normally not used in international relations. And therefore, it is not something, as I said, any prime minister of India can afford to bow down to.
Sushma, on the other hand, we see the India EFTA.
Yes.
European Free Trade Association. The trade agreement is underway, which is good news.
Yes.
At least we have something going for us, for our businesses. Now, that is a huge market also. I mean, the focus has always been on the US, focus has been on the UK, but this is a big thing which
Yes.
is also going to help our exporters, our industries. Now, that's a huge market. Of course, people are excited that the Swiss chocolate is going to
Yes.
get cheaper, Swiss
Yes.
watches are going to probably get cheaper. But at the same time, it has huge economic implications for our businesses, for our exporters.
Yes. The countries in EFTA, the European Free Trade Association, are Norway, Iceland, Switzerland, and a very tiny country called Liechtenstein. Now, if you see the trade data between India and this group, you will see that we are importing about $30 billion worth of products, and we are exporting very much
Much
less.
less.
But we have to take into account the fact that we are importing a lot of gold from Switzerland. That's part of the import basket. But the fact is that we do need to export more, and with the reduction in trade barriers by these countries, which are, I mean, Norway, Iceland, and Switzerland, especially, are very, very advanced economies. And they should be able to, they will be able to absorb a lot of goods, manufactured goods, processed agricultural goods, high-tech goods from India. So it's opening up of a new market for us. The other thing is, of course, the very unique thing about this agreement is that they have promised to invest $100 billion in India.
Yes,
And
in the next 15
yeah,
years.
in the next 15 years. And if they don't fulfill their commitment, then India can withdraw the tariff concessions that they have given. So that's...
And this will also have a huge implication on the job markets.
Exactly.
It's going to create a lot of jobs for Indians.
Yes, and not only that, it will serve as a template for the other free trade agreements that we are negotiating with the European Union and with other countries. Because if EFTA has offered this kind of investment, we should be able to ask for it from other countries. One of the things that India is looking for in this trade agreement, of course, is movement of skilled personnel to high-tech countries like Norway, Iceland, and Switzerland, where our our software professionals, our experts in various areas should be able to go there and get easier visas. So that's another area where you're talking about employment that we can do. So EFTA is going to be something very exciting,
and that will
very
also
interesting.
be a kind of a sentiment booster, considering that there's again a lot of problems with H-1B visa.
Exactly. In fact, coming to H-1B visa, I mean, not just EFTA, every country seems to be coming forward now to lure talent from India. I mean, Canada is offering, a new kind of arrangement so that people can come with easier visas. UK is offering, and of course, we discussed last week about China offering the K visa.
Yes.
So a lot of countries are interested in...
Japan is another country.
Japan is another country. So everybody is interested. But EFTA is again another region, a group of countries which are very high tech. Norway certainly is. Iceland is a big center for these IT companies. And Switzerland, of course, is a tiny country, but extremely high GDP per capita. And therefore, hopefully it should be really interesting progress.
And you're right, Sushma, because we were talking to a few textile manufacturers, garment exporters. The sentiment is gradually turning positive once again.
Okay.
Once the of course, after the Trump tariff, the announcements, I mean, there was a lot of confusion for our textile exporters, garment exporters. It's gradually, the sentiments are once again sort of shifting towards being positive. They look at this FTA very positively. Of course, then there is European Union.
Yes.
So maybe a lot of the market that we had in the US could be offset once these FTAs are in place.
Absolutely.
So that is all we have for you this week. See you next week. Thank you.